businesswoman some time back. Okay. Now, at the end of it, it's a murder. But look at the racial dimension that has come about just from that one murder. And these are not overtly said. I mean, some people have said it, but when I went back to my hometown, that time it was Hari Raya, the amount of things that were being said about this murder, which to me looked as if it had no racial dimension tone to it, the amount of things that were said, you know, it's because allegedly a bunch of lawyers from a particular ethnicity were killed a businessman of a particular ethnicity. Look at that. And again, for example, the fracas in KFC. No racial dimension to it. But suddenly, from out of nowhere, oh, it's the Malay pekerja against the Chinese patron of the restaurant. Even bread. You know of the campaign, the Massimo Gardenia bread? These actually show that our mindset, our thinking is still divided. It's still divided. So it's not, I keep on telling the people around me, look, this is not Malaysia. Okay? Oh yeah, we're all very nice, you know, all in one Malaysia, all different races and all that, sitting together in a forum. Really, this isn't Malaysia. You go out there, what happened with that headmistress, for example? The only difference between she and other people is that she said it to her students, okay? Whereas other people said it in private. Things like, you know, you are pendatang, you know, even the term that we use, some of us use to describe the other, bangsa asing. Bangsa asing. What does bangsa asing mean? As if they are foreigners, you know, and it's still being used. So I would say that actually this is a bigger problem that we need to tackle.
I must defend myself here. Shah disagrees with me because he didn't hear me properly. I said that it would be nice if these people were the minority. I did not say that they are the minority. I said if we have this national ethos, or where most of us have this underlying strength of, you know, I might disagree with you, but I'm never going to say you don't belong here. You know, that's one of the things, that's an example I gave. But I agree with you 100%. It's not a small problem, it's a big problem. And it's easy. I mean, believe me, pick a fight with anyone from a different racial group and I guarantee you, after a while, it will become racist. I guarantee you, it will degenerate. It will degenerate. Not that I pick fights with anyone, like I,
So we're actually in agreement.
Okay, from what you've all said, I mean, I think there is a problem which needs fixing, and that's why I'm still confused as to why you say we don't need a Race Relations Act. But never mind that. Is one of the reasons why we have a problem, and any of you can answer this, one of the reasons we have the problem, it appears as if the government or our leaders are actually condoning racism, if not encouraging it, because of the manner in which they allow some of these extremist parties to hog the newspapers and the coverage they get with no action taken against them. Do you think that is a contributing factor? Is our government sending out the right signals? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Unfortunately, Dato, again I go back to, we talk as if we are in a society where we had nothing to do how the government of the day came about. We had nothing to do with the policies that they implement, and we had nothing to do with the outcome. We decide these things. So really, I mean, ultimately, it's convenient to blame the government. It's convenient. It's an easy target, right? It's available, it's present, it's in front of us. We see it, we say, yeah, it's all the government's fault. But I think we need to look a bit deeper, because when Richard first asked me to do this forum, I said, yeah, it should be pretty straightforward. Then I looked into it and I realized, okay, wait a minute, this is a bit complex, because when when you talk about racism and the role that the government plays and the role of policies and the role of the law, to me, after looking at it, it boils down to individuals. We make up the society, we make up the government, and we are affected, and sometimes we live with the policy that the government makes, right? But the change must really start with us. Because if we say there is a problem with the government, there's a problem with us for voting that government in. So ultimately, if you think that, okay, I'm probably not in the majority, then it's time to educate the majority perhaps, to change the mindset of the society. You can start by the person next to you, or a whole class, you know, or a whole district, but we need to start somewhere. Ultimately, it all boils down to us, I think.
And free and fair elections, of course. Azmi, yeah,
I will reserve that for another topic, hopefully.
Azmi.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think no lah, come on lah, the Barisan has sucked lah. You know, I mean, they haven't done enough. Because if someone is a group, if a group is racist, then okay, I agree with the two of you. We should empower ourselves. The term I used to use was, we have to get rid of our hang tuah complex. Always looking for some hero on a white horse coming over the hill and saving us. Yes, I agree in all that. But at the same time, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, in a democratic system such as ours, the politicians are the leaders of the countries. And they do set a tone. And they can set a tone. And when things like this happen, when things happen and they do not make a stand, then they are actually condoning it. All right? And I want to go beyond government. I want to go to people who used to be in government. Mahathir Mohamad, I'm talking about you. All right? Okay? So if you know, he goes to events of bodies, groups which I believe are absolutely outwardly, totally racist. What does he do? He legitimizes them, because, like it or not, people actually love this dude. You know, I mean, you know, it's incredible to believe. When you look at his blog, there are thousands, millions of readers who adore him. You know, and they would do anything to kiss his hand. All right, okay. I actually turned down an opportunity to interview him because I didn't want to touch his hand. But you know, that's another story altogether. Right, okay, yes. My biases are absolutely clear. All right, but my point is, if you do not condemn it, whoever it is, if it's a Pakatan government, right, whichever government, if you do not condemn racism, you are condoning it. And unfortunately, we can condemn it as citizens of this country. We can make noise, but it's also necessary for the leadership to condemn it too.
No, can I just add a little?
Please go ahead.
Again, this would become chicken and egg story again. But I agree with you. I agree. Probably Barisan haven't done enough. But Dato, please don't start with free and fair election. But why is it they keep getting voted in again and again? Now, I think if you're talking about free and fair election, right? If we are saying there is no free and fair election in this country, we must be prepared to accept that Pakatan Rakyat winning 5 states also, all right, is arising out of an election which is not free and fair. Because you cannot on one hand legitimately hold the view that there is no free and fair election, except that in those 5 states, yeah, we had free and fair elections. So I think it's a bit contradictory in that sense. But leaving that issue aside, the point is this. Ultimately, if you talk about government that keeps voted into power, the power is in your hand. What are you doing about it? Or leave government aside. Look at what the good professor said about people on Mahathir's blog. Now, you don't need a free and fair election to go onto blogs, but yet you see these kind of people on the blog supporting him. So really, the problem is really with us. Maybe people around us. You know, so unless and until we are prepared to accept that, it's easy to assign blame. I mean, we can all blame everything and everyone else apart from us. But unless and until we are prepared to accept that we may be part of the problem, then I don't think one will identify what is the problem and how to solve it, ever. So, yeah.
Thank you, Faisal. Now, moving on, last few questions and then I turn it over to the floor. Last couple of questions, actually. Azmi, the Minister, Azmi and Shah, actually, the Minister actually said that this proposed bill, all right, was to be used as one of the two legislation that's going to replace the ISA. Now, when I read that, my blood went cold, okay? What has race relations got to do with the ISA? Does that concern you? Is that I can't understand where that statement came from.
ISA is about preventive detention, isn't it?
That's right.
So, what, are they going to detain us to prevent us from being racist? Or, I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand how it works. So, I don't want to comment because it doesn't make sense.
Okay. When the Internal Security Act was first enacted, it was to curb or to deal with a very specific problem. Militant communist threats at a particular point in time. But somehow, along the years, along the decades, the ISA has morphed into this all-encompassing tool in which any sort of dissent, any sort of so-called threats to the nation can be used against them. So I think this is where this whole rationale of replacing the ISA with race relations law, because they're now portraying, or it has been portrayed, that ISA, amongst others, is a tool to ensure that the harmony of this country is not threatened, is preserved. Whereas, if you look at the underlying reasons for the enactment of the ISA, it's to curb militant communist threats, you know. And of course, we have argued, lawyers have argued this in court to say that, look, you cannot use ISA, to curb political dissent. You cannot use ISA, for race-related crimes and all that. You cannot use, for example, putting aside the ISA, emergency ordinance for people who steal motorbikes, for example, or people who counterfeit money. You cannot use it for these purposes. But still, the courts have thrown out and say, no, it's wide enough to be used. So I think this is where that statement came from. That, okay, we used to have a law to ensure that all the races live peacefully under the Malaysian sun, and it's called the ISA. And without the ISA, chaos would ensue. Okay? So in order to safeguard that, we need to have a law to replace the ISA. I think that's where they're coming from.
All right. Yeah, makes sense. Picking up from that, Shah, any of you can answer this, but Shah first. Even one of the problems in this country as to why people are suspicious of any legislation that is passed is because there is selective prosecution. I was going to say persecution. Sorry, prosecution. That really there's a problem with our system of justice, because some people get off scot-free. Sometimes the legislation is used to bring down political opponents, etc., etc. I mean, Teo Beng Hawk and so on and so forth. Those are clear examples. So do you think that really is one of the reasons why people are very suspicious of any new law, because of the manner in which we have been in legislation so far?
Exactly. When I look back, I just came to this realization that the fact that the three of us are actually saying that you don't need laws is because actually we're suspicious of our laws. Okay? And I think it's a normal human thing where you're suspicious of any control that is placed upon you. But more so in Malaysia, with the context, the historical context, with how laws have been abused, for example, or even the enacting of laws where laws have just been pushed to us, without proper consultation. Look at the Peaceful Assembly Act, for example. So that experience has contributed to our suspicion of these laws. So when you say, oh, we want to have laws to regulate racism and all that, to perhaps criminalize racism and all that, when you have these kind of statements being made, the first thing that you're going to think, oh, they're going to use it for anyone who talks about Article 153, or anyone who threatens the status quo, especially if you put it in context with the fact that they're saying that this is to replace the Internal Security Act. Straight away the suspicion is there. Okay, so putting aside the fact of whether we need it or not, I think the reason why some of us are against it is because of this deep-rooted suspicion.
Thank you, Shah. Any further comments from Azmi or Faisal? Would you like to, Faisal?
I think my suspicion is not so much with regards to the law. Of course, I agree with Shah, there's always room for abuse. You know, Race Relation Act may be just another act introduced to say you don't talk about race at all. So such discussions such as this may not be possible under the RRA because some people like, okay, I won't name names, probably be upset and saying that, oh, you know, Ketuanan Melayu or whatever that the case may be, you know, is threatened. That's one possibility. But I think we are in a unique situation where actually we need not be fearful of the law because one, we have a written constitution. This is different from the position in the UK where Parliament is supreme. So it changes, the law changes according to the will of the Parliament in the UK, but here we have a constitution that we can ground our laws upon. But to make this happen, I think, and this is what I'm suspicious of, is the strength of our judiciary. I think the judiciary needs to be stronger in stating what the constitution is all about and applying laws made by the Parliament in the spirit in which the law was supposed to be or intended. If we have that, there's no room for abuse at all.
That's a very fair point, actually. Okay, last question to all three. We are on the Human Rights Council. Malaysia is on the Human Rights Council. When we wrote our pledges, one of the pledges or one of the statements we made was that our diversity, our multiculturalism, our that we're multiracial was a good thing, and that they used it to promote their argument that they should be on the Human Rights Council. Now, given what we've heard today, do you think Malaysia deserves to be on the Human Rights Council?
So what you call it? Olan cepuk emas. No lah, what is a Human Rights Council? I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't solve anything. You know, you can be in the Human Rights Council, but you still commit human rights abuses, you know. So, if you ask me whether we deserve it or not, I don't even see the point of the Human Rights Council, because you still have human rights abuses all over the place, you know. So, again, I go back, my answer would be, I don't even see the point of having a Human Rights Council, and the fact that we're in it is also something which to me is very, very ironic.
We are not party to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. We're not party to the International Covenant on Cultural and Social Rights. We are not party to the Convention Against Torture. We're not party against party against racial discrimination. We're not party to the Convention with regards to the treatment of migrant workers. We are party to, we seem to care in this country, we only seem to care about the human rights of women, children and the disabled. All right? But there's a body of international laws on human rights which we are not party to. In fact, I would say the majority of international laws on human rights we are not party to, and it seems a bit odd, yeah, that we could sit on this council when we are not party to the majority of the international human rights treaties which exist in the world today. You know, it's I don't know, it's weird, you know. It's a bit strange, ironic. But then, you know, if you think about it, right, which country in the world deserves to be on a Human Rights Council? Which country in the world deserves to be on the Human Rights Council? Everybody has their problems. I think a Human Rights Council should not be represented by countries. Human Rights Council should be represented by people.
Very good point. Thank you. Faisal, do you want to add to that?
Wow, human rights. Really, we would need another forum just for that.
Yeah.
My view of human rights is slightly different, in a sense that I think, I don't think human rights is something that is evolving. We have seen certain things which are taboo in the past become norm today, and will probably become taboo in the future. We don't know, but it's something that is evolving. My view of it is that there's no clear rule as to which right should take precedence over which culture, for example. Because so there are a lot of permutations here. You know, what is to say certain human right is to be valued higher than, say, your culture, which may be in contradiction of that particular right, for example. You know, so there are a lot of permutations. But on the specific question of whether or not Malaysia should be on the Human Rights Council, I echo what our good professor said. If
I'm neither good nor professor, so stop calling me that. Okay, it's Azmi.
So if that's the question, then there shouldn't be any country sitting on the Human Rights Council. But I think the idea is, if you sit on the council, there's a better chance for other countries to engage Malaysia. I don't think isolation works. Just because a country has a poor human rights record doesn't mean you isolate them, because isolation only draws them deeper into their whatever thing that is that they are doing. So you need to engage them. Being on the council allows better room for Malaysia, for example, to be engaged by other nations, perhaps at an international sphere, put a bit more pressure, a bit more light on Malaysia because they are on the international council seat. So I think in a sense that it's better that Malaysia is on the Human Rights Council.
Actually, I do agree with you, Faisal. It is better we are there. My question is whether we deserve to be there. That I may disagree with you. But it is good that we're there because we can hold them to, all the members, to higher international standards. Right, now, over to you. Feel free to maul our, if you want to, our speakers. They've done extremely well so far. Thank you very much, all of you, for putting up with my questions. Any questions from the floor?
Don't mind. Allow me to start.
Please.
Sorry, I'm Richard Wee. Thanks to all of you. But I have some statements I would like to make from the National Young Lawyers side point of view. Firstly, as far as we are concerned, the race relation laws should not be implemented in Malaysia. We have enough laws in Malaysia. What we need are stronger people in the government to make sure that we have no insidiously implemented policies in Malaysia. With respect to the government, I hope that some of them are here. The last 20-30 years of our system, we have seen a dramatic breakdown of our system. Azmi hit a good point on education. I have proof of Form 4, Form 5 questions where an example of a question is like this. Jikalau anda dilantik sebagai salah satu pemimpin negara di sini, and this is the punchline question, apakah anda akan lakukan untuk mempertahankan hak Melayu? Berikan dua contoh. I have that proof, and it was to my shock and dismay that I've seen these in questions posed to my younger friends. And when we were in Form 4, Form 5, we were more interested in fighting and thinking of what happened in 1511, 1641, 1824, and the Pangkor Agreement 1874, which effectively opened the British to Malaysia. That was the beginning of the, it was the Malay Sultan who opened up the British involvement into Malaysia, not the British forcing their way through in 1874. So these are the things we learned, and then yet instead what we have is intricate and insidious education system dividing Malaysians from the very beginning. We meet, as a member of the Young Lawyer Committee, we meet many young lawyers coming in. And it is surprising that when we meet the young lawyers who are educated in local schools and some even in local universities, they have the impression that there's nothing wrong in Malaysia. That we get non-Malay students, non-Malay lawyers saying that it's okay, I don't mind to be discriminated because I've been told it's alright. And then the Malay lawyers, young fellows will come and say, ini hak saya, I have a right to discriminate you. That's in the constitution. And it's shocking because it's coming from a lawyer. Luckily for us, I would like to report to the forum that the feedback we got is it's a minority. And that is still a minority view. But it's a scary minority because lies, when perpetuated too often, can eventually be seen as truth. And then we will end up having a country living in lies covered as truth. So that's why the National Young Lawyers wanted to have this forum. We are concerned. This forum is actually a lot more than race relation laws. It's about us. What do we want this country to be in 30 years from now? 30, 40 years ago, we will never have an idiot like Ibrahim Ali. We will never have that. The government choose to, for example, prosecute Star paper over an unfortunate photographs of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, who we all respect, whatever religion he is from. But have not taken any action against Utusan Malaysia, who has made it a point since 9th of March, the day they lost, 9th of March 2008, until now, to continue to perpetuate racism in the front page of the newspaper. I haven't seen any action taken against them, for example. So it's a major concern of the National Young Lawyers Committee, who, by the way, is a multicultural committee, multiracial committee, and we are all fairly unanimous that we have to stop this insidiously implemented policies. I urge the members of this forum, whether you agree with Pakatan or Barisan, it's not about politics at all. Faisal, for example, you have a kid. Azmi, I know you have a kid. Shah got married, you're going to have a kid soon. How do you want your kid to be? You know, in 30, 40 years' time, are you comfortable in your rocking chair, in your having a coffee, where your granddaughter, grandson will come and tell you, you know, Abah, aku rasa aku ni Melayu ni memang hak aku lah kalau aku nak bully orang Cina. Itu artikel 153 kata. Tu, my God, Ibrahim Ali told me that. You know? Because we failed to do something. The people choose to sit down and let it happen. So I urge you all here, thank you for coming for this forum, but I want all of you to speak, but I thought I should kick off why the NYLC did this, why we want to have this forum, and urge you when you go back later, think about it and start to fight back. It is our country we are talking about, not Barisan or not Pakatan. This is about us. Thanks.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, go ahead. Gentleman at the mic.
Good afternoon. I think we are in a different era now. Okay, even in the 50s, 60s, we are lawyers. Okay.
Sorry, could you state your name, please,
I'm
for the record?
I'm Ramachandran, who is a retiree.
Thank you.
Okay. I live in this country for more than almost 6 years. Okay, so why I say we are in a different era is because in the 50s we are lawyers. We never talk about it. 60s, 70s, 80s, because more incident happened. We want some fairness, recognition, and all of us, of course, we have values. Okay, I remember, I think a few years ago, one of the Bar Council report I read, appointment of High Court judges. I think this is during Mahathir time. We are here because of race law amendment, because this is again victimization. When a person abused. So during the time, Bar Council people say that appointment of High Court judges must be a practicing lawyer. But there means some appointment done who is not a practicing lawyer. So when abuse like that can happen to that high level, abuse can happen at any level. So when the abuse happens, person who abused, person who get victimized. So we need this kind of law to protect. So anyone in authority abused, he enjoyed. He is laughing because your authority abused. But what happened to the people who being victimized? This is where we need lawyers, and we want people with values. So I support strongly, we need this law. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, please go ahead. Could you state your name first? Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole. I'm a Form 6 student. I'd just like to quote J.S. Neil, John Stuart Mill. He once said that no person should ever suffer as a result of someone else's exercise of a right. So I do not recognize 153 as a right, and I do not think that it deserves any respect as a constitutional provision itself. So I beg to differ from Faisal Moideen. I think the problem today is we keep on talking about assimilation, about identity, about one person's nationality, being nationalists, and so on. But I think the panelists, in regards to maybe Faisal, yourself, you have failed to talk about integration. I think it's integration rather than assimilation. Why can't there be integration at the same time one person retaining their self-identity? I believe we are withstanding people, we are critical-minded people, and we can retain our identity while integrating ourselves into one society, which we belong to. So